Hello friends. A lot of Canadian veterans are hearing the same claim right now, that the government has a brand new August 2026 rule, and that if you served, this is the month when everything changes. Some people are being told their benefits could be reduced. Others are being told new money is coming automatically. And many veterans are hearing that August 2026 is some kind of hidden deadline that could affect disability payments, retirement income, or support for their family. So today I want to walk through what is actually true, what is being misunderstood, and what every Canadian veteran needs to know before August arrives. Because the truth is more complicated than the headline. There is not one single government rule in August 2026 that suddenly changes everything for all veterans at once. What is really happening is that several different veteran benefit rules become very visible around that time, especially payment timing, annual rate adjustments, income replacement calculations, age 65 changes, and the way other income sources can affect what some veterans receive. And if you are a veteran, a surviving spouse, or a family member helping someone manage these benefits, understanding the real rules matters far more than reacting to a scary title. The first thing every veteran needs to know is that August 2026 is a real month to pay attention to, but not for the reason many people think. It is not a secret shutdown month. It is not the month when all veteran payments are reviewed at once. And it is not the month when every veteran has to requalify for support. What is real is that many veterans will see a federal payment in late August and start comparing it with previous months. For veterans receiving disability pension-style payments, the official payment date in August 2026 falls on August 28. That is one reason this month stands out. When money arrives on a specific date, that is when changes are noticed. If the amount looks different, or if a veteran expected one program to continue the same way and it did not, that can create immediate fear. But the important point is this. The payment date itself is not the rule. It is simply the moment when existing rules show up in your bank account. The second thing veterans need to understand is that Canadian veteran benefits do not all work the same way. This is where confusion starts. Some benefits are tax-free. Some are taxable. Some are based on disability and quality of life. Some are based on income replacement. Some are indexed every year. Some are adjusted quarterly. Some depend on age. Some depend on whether your condition is connected to service. Some depend on whether you are still in rehabilitation, whether you have a diminished earning capacity, whether you have a spouse or dependent children, or whether you are a survivor after the death of a veteran. So when people say there is a new August 2026 rule for veterans, what often gets lost is that there is no one-size-fits-all veteran system. Two veterans can both have served, both be living in Canada, both be receiving money from Veterans Affairs, and still be under very different rules. Let's start with disability benefits, because this is the category that many veterans know best. If you have a service-related illness or injury, disability benefits are financial recognition for the impact that condition has on your life. These benefits are tax-free. For some veterans, that support comes as pain and suffering compensation, which can be paid as a lifetime monthly benefit or as a lump sum. For others, especially certain older or legacy cases tied to wartime service or applications made under older rules, support may come through a disability pension, which is also a lifetime monthly benefit. These are not the same thing as employment income, and they are not the same thing as retirement income. They are recognition for service-related injury or illness. That distinction matters, because many veterans hear the word benefit and assume every program can be reduced the same way, taxed the same way, or offset the same way. That is not true. And this leads to one of the biggest misunderstandings around August 2026. Many veterans are worried that the government is about to reduce all veteran benefits because of a new rule. That is not what the official framework shows. In fact, most Veterans Affairs programs are adjusted over time to reflect cost of living. The government's own explanation says veteran benefits are increased regularly using established inflation measures. But not every program is adjusted the same way or on the same schedule. Some programs are escalated annually, usually effective January 1st. Others are adjusted quarterly. That means by the time August 2026 arrives, the numbers you are seeing may reflect earlier adjustments that already took effect, rather than a sudden new August policy. So if you notice a difference, it may be because your program has already been indexed, because another income source has changed, or because your age or status changed how the formula applies to you. Now let's talk about the one benefit that causes the most confusion for medically released veterans and those dealing with major career interruption after service, the income replacement benefit. This is extremely important because this is one of the few veteran programs where age really can change the amount in a major way. The income replacement benefit is a taxable monthly benefit. Its purpose is to maintain income while a veteran is participating in rehabilitation services or if the veteran has what is called diminished earning capacity. Before age 65, the program is designed to ensure total income is at least 90% of gross pre-release military salary, or the minimum threshold if that is higher. But once a qualifying veteran with diminished earning capacity reaches 65, the structure changes. The benefit is reduced to 70% of the amount payable before age 65, and then offsets are applied. That is a real rule. It is not new to August 2026 specifically, but for any veteran approaching or crossing age 65 in 2026, this can feel like a major change when it shows up in practice. This is where many veterans get caught off guard. They think the age 65 shift is a cut that comes out of nowhere. But the government describes it as a built-in design of the program. If a veteran is still participating in the program and turns 65, the monthly amount is recalculated starting the first day of the month after the 65th birthday. And for veterans who had diminished earning capacity before 65, the benefit may continue for life, but at that 70% level, again with offsets. So if someone is calling August 2026 a new rule, for some veterans what they are really reacting to is the experience of turning 65 and seeing a completely different formula apply to their income support. That is not the same as a new government-wide rule for all veterans. It is a pre-existing age-based program rule hitting real people in real time. And once you understand that, the next issue becomes even more important: offsets. This is the part veterans and their families absolutely need to watch. The income replacement benefit is not calculated in isolation. Other income sources can reduce it. That includes military pension income, old age security, the Canada Pension Plan, Quebec Pension Plan, and certain disability-related public income sources. In other words, if another payment begins, rises, or changes, your income replacement benefit may also change. This is why a veteran can look at August 2026 and feel like the government quietly changed the rules, when in fact what changed was the interaction between benefits. Maybe OAS started. Maybe CPP started. Maybe military pension income was factored in. Maybe proof of income was updated. Maybe a veteran reached 65. The amount can shift even if the veteran did nothing wrong. But that does not mean you should ignore it. It means you should understand that interaction before the surprise happens. There is another part of the income replacement benefit that many veterans do not realize until they are already receiving it, and that is the employment earnings rule. Veterans on this benefit can earn up to $20,000 per year from employment or self-employment without reducing the benefit. But once earnings go above that level, every extra dollar reduces the benefit dollar for dollar. This rule exists because the system is trying to encourage meaningful work participation without immediately punishing every bit of earned income. But if a veteran starts earning more, takes on contract work, returns to part-time civilian work, or has self-employment income that was not properly reported, the benefit calculation can change. Veterans Affairs expects changes in income to be reported. So for some veterans, August 2026 is not about a new mystery rule. It is about income reporting, offset calculations, and age-related formulas all becoming very visible at the same time. Now let's shift back to tax-free supports, because not everything in the veteran system is meant to replace wages. Additional pain and suffering compensation is another important program, and many veterans either do not know it exists or assume it is automatically included in another disability payment. It is a tax-free monthly benefit for veterans who already have a service-related disability benefit and whose severe and permanent impairment creates a barrier to successful re-establishment in civilian life. This is not a short-term support. It is paid monthly and, if approved, can continue for life. It is also not paid to survivors after the veteran's death. That matters because some families assume every monthly veteran benefit transfers or continues in the same way after death. They do not. Each program has its own rules. And this is exactly why broad headlines about 1 August rule can be so misleading. Another issue veterans need to understand is that some benefit changes are not reductions at all, but reassessments or corrections. If a service-related condition gets worse and the medical evidence shows that worsening clearly, a veteran can request a reassessment. If the reassessment confirms that the condition has deteriorated, the disability benefit may be adjusted upward unless the veteran is already at the maximum rate. That is important, because many veterans spend so much time worrying about losing money that they never stop to ask whether their worsening condition should actually qualify them for more support. For veterans living with hearing loss, tinnitus, PTSD, chronic pain, reduced mobility, or other long-term conditions that have become more serious over time, this is something worth paying attention to. August 2026 does not create that right, but if you are reviewing your finances and medical situation now, this is the kind of rule that can work in your favor rather than against you. There is also a major mental health point that every veteran should hear. Veterans who apply for disability benefits for certain mental health conditions can receive immediate temporary coverage for treatment while their claim is being processed. That includes conditions such as anxiety disorders, depressive disorders, and trauma and stressor-related disorders. Coverage can last up to 2 years from the date the disability benefit application is received, or until a favorable decision is made. If the decision is favorable, the veteran can transition to longer-term treatment coverage. If the decision is unfavorable, the temporary coverage can still continue for the remainder of that eligibility period. This matters because many veterans incorrectly assume they have to wait in silence with no support until the entire claim is decided. That is not always the case. And for veterans who are struggling right now, especially those who have delayed applying because the process feels overwhelming, this may be one of the most important things to know. Now let's talk about emergency help, because this is another area where people assume a veteran has to already be deeply inside the system to qualify. The Veterans Emergency Fund provides prompt non-taxable support to qualified veterans and certain family members facing an emergency that threatens health and well-being. It can help with essentials like food, clothing, uninsured medical costs, or shelter-related expenses. The program is meant for crisis situations, and decisions can move quickly when a complete application is submitted. What matters here is that some veterans and spouses wait far too long because they assume emergency help is only for people already receiving major VAC benefits. But that is not the rule. A veteran's service history can be confirmed even if the person is not currently receiving another VAC payment. So if a veteran or surviving family member is facing a genuine financial emergency in 2026, this is not something to ignore out of pride or confusion. Survivors also need to pay very close attention, because the death of a veteran does not mean every support stops instantly, but it also does not mean every payment continues forever in the same form. If a veteran was receiving a disability pension and dies, the surviving spouse may continue receiving that pension for 1 full year. If the veteran was also receiving certain related amounts, those may continue during that period as well. After that year, the survivor's pension begins automatically if the conditions are met. The amount depends on the level of the veteran's disability pension assessment. That means families should not assume they need to panic immediately, but they also should not assume the second year will look identical to the first. This is another area where misunderstanding creates financial shock. The support structure can continue, but its form can change. There is also an older age issue that sometimes gets overlooked because it affects a smaller group but can matter a lot. Some legacy and wartime-related programs, including certain income-tested supports, are adjusted on a quarterly basis, not just annually. That means the timing of increases can look different from the timing of changes in other programs. Some benefits rise with cost of living at the start of the year, while others are adjusted in steps over the year. So when a veteran or widow notices a change around August, it may reflect a quarterly update rather than a new government order targeted at veterans. Again, that does not make it unimportant. It just means the right response is to identify which program is involved rather than assuming the entire system changed overnight. One more point veterans should not miss is that not every monthly amount is protected from tax the same way. Disability benefits such as pain and suffering compensation and additional pain and suffering compensation are tax-free. But the income replacement benefit is taxable. This distinction matters for budgeting, for comparing programs, and for avoiding surprises when planning retirement income. A veteran may look at two monthly amounts and assume they have the same real value, but if one is taxable and one is not, the effect on take-home money can be very different. That becomes especially important when OAS, CPP, military pension income, and VAC income are all interacting in the same retirement years. So if August 2026 is making you review your finances, that is actually a good thing. The more clearly you separate taxable support from non-taxable support, the easier it is to understand what changed and why. And this brings us to the biggest takeaway of all. The phrase, the government's new August 2026 rule for Canadian veterans, makes it sound like one single switch is about to be flipped. But the real veteran system does not work like that. What we actually see is a network of rules that apply differently depending on the benefit. Disability support is different from income replacement. Tax-free compensation is different from taxable wage replacement. Monthly benefits for life are different from one-time amounts. Survivor support has its own structure. Emergency help has its own entry point. Mental health treatment support has its own timeline. And age 65 can be a major turning point for some veterans, especially those on the income replacement benefit. So the most dangerous mistake a veteran can make right now is to hear a dramatic title, assume it must apply to everyone in the same way, and either panic or ignore it completely. What should veterans do instead? First, know exactly which Veterans Affairs programs you receive now, not just the total amount. Second, if you are on the income replacement benefit and nearing age 65, review how the post-65 formula works before it hits. Third, if you have started receiving or expect to receive OAS, CPP, a military pension, or other outside income, understand that these may affect taxable income replacement support. Fourth, report changes in income when required rather than waiting for a recalculation later. Fifth, if your service-related condition has worsened, consider whether a reassessment is appropriate. Sixth, if you are struggling with a mental health condition tied to service, do not assume you must wait without care while a disability application is processed. Seventh, if you are in immediate financial crisis, know that emergency help may exist even if you are not receiving a major ongoing benefit right now. And finally, if you are a spouse or survivor helping manage a veteran's affairs, make sure you understand which benefits continue, which change, and which stop after death. So here is the truth in plain language. There is no single new August 2026 rule that suddenly changes everything for every Canadian veteran. What August 2026 really represents is a moment when many veterans will notice the effects of rules that already exist. Some will simply receive their monthly payment on August 28 and move on. Some will notice changes tied to inflation indexing. Some will be affected by the interaction of OAS, CPP, or military pension income with the income replacement benefit. Some will be approaching 65 and about to enter a different benefit formula. Some will realize they qualify for support they never applied for. And some surviving families will need to understand how benefits continue after a veteran's death. The danger is not one hidden August rule. The danger is not knowing which rule applies to your situation. And once you understand that, You stop reacting to fear and start protecting your finances the right way.